Good day, everyone. Today we will be tackling about statistics. So when we say statistic, it is the process of collecting, organizing, summarizing, presenting, analyzing, and interpreting a data to make valid conclusions and decisions. So one of the primary purpose of the statistic is to make sure that your conclusions and decisions are valid. So for example, a teacher gave a quiz to his or her students. So then after that, most of the students fail in that quiz. So that in that way, the teacher can easily adjust the lessons or like ma-identify niya asa ang mga needs sa ihang mga students. So without the statistic also, most of the decisions or the decisions will be more or like mga kanang guessing na lang. So next is the stages of statistical inquiry. So first is the collection of data. So collection of data, it is understandable. So collection, you are going to collect a data. So one of the example of it is that our research, right? So in our research, we gather data, like we collect data about that specific problem. So example is that your problem is you're going to identify whether the using of digital tool is helpful ba sa mga students or not. So in that way, we're going to conduct interviews or like mga test baron, or like you're going to observe if it is helpful or not. So that is the collection of data.
And now, let's proceed to presentation of data. So, presentation of data is a process where you organize and present data in an easy and understandable way. So, the reason for this is for you or for the receiver to digest the information without misunderstanding or confusion, especially when dealing with numbers in data. And to present data or to have a very good outcome when it comes to data presentation, there are types and forms that depends on how you will use the data. So first would be the textual or narrative data. Textual or narrative data simply means text or narrative. So these are the type of data, forms of data nga imo makitaan through books or any type of text nga imo mabasahan, or the type of data nga spoken or istorya. Now, next would be the tabular data. So tabular data, it is a type of data that uses tables with columns and rows. So muna siya ang type of data nga makita nga katong may box, no? Usually mura siya building og kanang now. The last form of presentation of data is graphical. So graphical is the use of graphs in data, no? Nana sing word graphical, but under graphical there are three, no? First would be the bar graph. Bar graph is somewhat similar to tabular, but instead of mura siya building, dots ang i-connect niya, no? But ngan siya dots, o kasa mag-abot ang x and si y, but ngan og dot, then a line would be drawn o kasa to ang kuan para ma-connect siya. And the second one would be pie graph. So pie graph is very common. So it's called pie graph because it looks like a pie, no? Mura siya pie or pizza, kay ang ihang by chunks niya kay triangle. So it is divided into two, na siya blue ug red. So magdepende adto og asa ang imuhang greater na value. So if asa ang mas gamay, dito ang chunk. Now, the last would be the histogram. So histogram is the most complex form of graphical form sa presentation of data, kay it includes all. So naa na frequency, na ay range, and the number. So Mo ni siya ang type of data nga makit-an. For example, mo ni ang kanang draw sa graph. Here would be by inch, let's say by inch, no. First inch would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and so on. Dili na pod ang frequency. Frequency would be 20, 40, 60, 80 and so on. So if the data is saying nag-abot ang 20 and 10, so you'll just draw a line there. That imo siya itunong og as ang 10 og ang 20. No, butang na nimo siya dira that. Then that's simply i-continue nimo until makuha nimo ang data. So more siya similar sa bar graph, but the numbers or the context is kompleto na. Nanay frequency, nanay range, nanay numbers, etc. Okay? Now let's proceed to analysis of data. So analysis of data, it uses statistical methods to extract useful information. So presentation of data and analysis of data is connected. So the reason why you are trying to make the data understandable and easy or simple is para dali siya i-analyze, no? So most common ani is when conducting research or surveys. So ang imo yung i-mind ana is, can the data be understood easily? No, useless man ang data if dili siya ma-analyze. There are many types pod of analysis of data. For example, descriptive analysis of data. So you are just trying to describe, let's say for example, 50% of 50 people out of 100 students failed the exam. So descriptive, you are simply describing how the data is presented. So wala na siya graph, ang imuha na lang is to simply describe or interpret the data that is given. So that is the reason why. So connected siya ang duha. You can't analyze or interpret data if ang imuhang data mismo is libog. No, dili ka kasabot. So that's the reason why it should be interconnected. Okay?
Let's proceed to interpretation of data. So interpretation of data means drawing conclusions from analyzed data. So when we say interpretation of data, it means understanding data by finding patterns, trends, and making conclusions. So in simple terms, it is the overall data and the data analysis and the pattern recognition and the result summary of the data. Okay, so the whole data means that the data interpretation means that what the data mean and what is the conclusions of the data. So that's it. That's the interpretation of data. So let's proceed to the data division of statistics. So there are two types of division of statistics. Number one is descriptive statistics, and number two is inferential statistics. So let's proceed to descriptive statistics. So what is descriptive statistics? Descriptive statistics is describes and summarize data based on facts. So it is the data summary or describes and summarize the data. So example, when we need to find the mid number or the middle number, we use the mean median mode method to find the median number and to find what's the middle number. So that's it. That's the descriptive statistics.
Shows statistics makes predictions or conclusions about population using example. Inferential statistics uses sample data to make predictions or draw conclusions about larger populations. It goes beyond describing data or descriptive stats to infer broader patterns, often involving probability and uncertainty. That is the use of inferential statistics. The next one is The classification of variables. We have qualitative. Qualitative have categorical response. Example, gender or religion. Qualitative describes data through categories and attributes, not just numbers. It cannot be measured mathematically. Example, addition or subtraction. Focusing on qualities like groups or label. And we have the three subtypes of qualitative. The first one, nominal. Nominal means no or there. The second one is ordinal, means ordered. And we have the last one, dichotomous, or means two categories. That is the use of qualitative.
A quantitative variable is a variable that represents numerical data. It shows information that can be measured or counted and expressed in numbers. For example, include a person's height, weight, or age, all of which can be compared and used in mathematical calculation. And discrete values, on the other hand, are specific numbers that come from counting. They are whole numbers and cannot have decimal or fractions. For example, the number of students in a class or the number of pets a person owns are discrete values because you can only count whole units. Overall, quantitative variables describe numerical information, and discrete values are a type of quantitative data that can only take exact and countable numbers.
Lastly, continuous. Continuous typically obtained through measuring rather than counting. For example, height and age. In other terms, continuous means continue. It keeps growing and it is limited to a whole number.
The independent variable is the variable that influences or affects the outcome of a study. It is what the researcher manipulates or observes what is in fact. For example, study hours are an independent variable because they can affect test results.
Let's move on to dependent variable. Dependent variable is affected by another variable. For example, test score. Test score is the result of the independent variable. So the independent variable there is the hours of study. So the scenario is like this. There's a one student who studied for almost 5 hours, and the result of his effort is the highest score he got in the exam. So basically, so the dependent is the result on the independent. It affects on how much effort you put in.